All right. Hi, everyone. So for this one, if you weren't at our first open house, welcome. My name is Sydney. I'm the author and founder of Hiking My Feelings and Wellness in the Wilderness Consulting, and now Reciprocity RX, which is an initiative that we are bringing forth to the world in 2026. Before we get started, I just want to invite everybody. Let's do cameras off for the time being. I had some issues last time with a bunch of gorgeous faces that we were all blocking the slides. So anybody that was watching the replay was probably like, "What the heck are we doing here? How do we get to see what's on the screen?" So if you don't mind, go ahead and turn off your camera, and we're going to get started here. So welcome. If you don't mind, while you're in the Zoom here. If you want to jump in the chat, let us know where you're from, what brings you here today, and how you connect with nature. For those of us that are just joining, my name is Sydney Williams. I am the author and founder of Hiking My Feelings, and I am excited to have you all here. We are doing cameras off today, so if you don't mind, if you want to turn off your camera there. Um, we are here to talk about Reciprocity RX, and I am here today on Kumi Island. This is also known as Julian and Descanso, California, about 40 minutes to an hour east of San Diego in the mountains. This is where we call home when we're not on the road hosting all of our events and programs. And I'm really excited to get to know you. So if you want to pop in the chat where you're from, what brings you here today, and how you connect with nature. And on the where you're from part, when we're thinking about reciprocity, one of the best ways that we can start to practice reciprocity and mindfulness in the places that we work, live, and play is to understand who were the first stewards of this land and who are still stewarding this land. And so if you go to native-land.ca, you can pop in your address and it'll tell you who's the first stewards of your land. So I'm going to pop that in the chat so you can check it out. All right. So, what are we doing here? My name is Sydney. Like I mentioned, I'll keep this part quick. If you want a more thorough introduction to who I am and what we do, and the first round of the Reciprocity RX open house, we would love to have you check that out, and you can do that at our website. We are at reciprocityrx.com/open house is a great place to find our first replay, which gives a lot of background information, specifically if you are looking at this from the provider track. So we'll talk about what all that is today. But today we're going to give you a view of what Reciprocity RX is as an ecosystem, all the different pieces that work together to bring this work into the world. And we'll start by sharing an exercise of our first R of the 4 Rs framework, which is receive. So we'll take a look at what the pieces are of this movement, how it all works together, and how you can get involved. So thanks for being here. I'm so excited to have you. Again, I'm Sydney, and the short version of the long story is hiking saved my life. I learned how the healing power of nature was now my new bestie when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes back in 2017 and started managing for that condition largely through walking and doing it outside. So over the course of a couple years, I hiked a bunch. I was taking my medications as prescribed, and I was, doing all the things that your doctor wants you to do, cleaning up my nutrition plan, managing my stress, getting good sleep, all the principles of lifestyle medicine. And it just absolutely changed everything for me. So since 2018, my husband Barry and I have been on a mission to improve the community health by creating opportunities for people to experience the healing power of nature. And I think we've done a really good job on that. I've got some great testimonials. We can talk about all the events we've hosted and all the thousands of people that we've worked with. But also, I want some metrics to chew on. So Reciprocity RX is the next evolution of our work to help people connect with the healing power of nature and to improve community health. So thank you for being here. So Reciprocity RX is our solution to what we're calling the disconnection problem. Again, if you haven't been to a Reciprocity RX open house before, you can learn more about the disconnection problem and our solution to it. You can find that on our website at reciprocityrx.com or watch that replay. But in essence, everything that I can think of that I've ever struggled with comes down to the root cause of being disconnected from myself and my body, from the people that I'm in community with, and from the planet itself. And so Reciprocity RX is a nature-based care initiative that offers free resources, a certification program, and immersive experiences for protectors, pathfinders, and providers to help heal themselves, their communities, and the planet together. So, what does that mean? Well, great question. Who is this for? Like I said, protectors, providers, and pathfinders. Protectors are indigenous partners, leaders of different tribes that are actively working to steward the land, which is like everybody. And getting into why we are doing this, it's an opportunity to really build what I think of as just a big table, right? If you've lived in America this year, hi, it's been absolutely nuts in the worlds of like everything. But with this new administration, the world of public lands and the world of public health has been a real challenge. And one of the things that we are looking to bridge here is public lands and public health. From the sheer fact of like using my story as the guinea pig and all the work we've done over the past 8 years to bring this work to the world, it's really a opportunity for us to look at what is going on in public lands and how can those places help us heal, what is going on in public health and how can we integrate nature more into the public health system. And for the folks that are like me, 8, 10 years ago, they were just like, I was just wandering around looking for a way to heal, and I didn't really have a connection to nature. The average American spends about 95% of their life indoors, and we're looking to help solve for that. So if you don't have to identify as one of these, this is just a way to kind of fall into um, a lane and to help you identify with the work. We'll get into what different tracks and what paths are for which audience here in a little bit, but just know that no matter where you sit, all of this, we all come together during the certification program. We're all together in the community space, and we can all come together in person as well. So we're looking to help bridge the gap between public lands and public health with these three key audiences and communities. And I find myself personally in the middle of all of it, right? Like I'm a provider in that I facilitate these experiences for other people. I'm a protector in that I've volunteered thousands of hours giving back to the lands here in the United States. And I'm a pathfinder, right? Like I've been trying to find a way to move forward and to bring and hold a vision of a better world, right? Particularly in the world of public lands and public health, there's been so much to react to this year that what we're trying to create here is some language in a container for us to all come together and explore what it means to bring more reciprocity into our works and into our lives, and also to just be here together and bring it all to the forefront and a vision for what we can build together rather than always reacting and pivoting to what's coming at us. Whoop. So the ecosystem as it stands right now, and I've got some big dreams for this, but as it stands right now, we'll get into my dreams in a second. We have the free community and toolkit. That's the Reciprocity RX Collective. This is hosted on Mighty Networks. If you aren't already a member, highly recommend joining. This is where we house our free toolkit, our educational materials, and it's its own private social network. So if you've ever been in a Facebook group, it's very similar to that, except no spam, no beeps and boops from other things that you don't care about. It's all focused on doing this work and people that are gathering around bringing this new vision forward. So our toolkit is a gentle guided self-reflection exercise. We offer a series of 2 different tools, and we're rolling those out one by one between now and when the program starts. So this week we released our first tool in the toolkit, which is the first R of the 4 Rs framework, which is receive. And we'll get into a little bit of that together here in a moment. The next kind of step up is for folks that want to dive deeper into this work. If you go through the free toolkit and you're like, dang, yeah, I'd like to bring this to work. either for myself, because I would like to have more reciprocity in my life. I'd like to understand how to move in the world in a more reciprocal way. Or if you're looking to prescribe this for your patients or your clients, to introduce them to different providers and opportunities for them to join programs like this or other experiences that center nature and reciprocity as healing modalities, that's a great place to do that too. So online certification is the deeper dive to give you as much as you could possibly consume to bring this into your own life and work, and at the end of it to bring it back to where you're going, right? So if you're somebody that works in the office and you're the one constantly taking care of your team, you're making sure everybody knows what kind of resources are available to them on the wellness front, this is something you can bring back. If you're a program designer, you can start to weave nature and reciprocity into your programs as you design them. And if you're working directly providing care, it's a great way to really beef up those muscles. And if you want to take it a step further, if you're like, okay, that toolkit, love it, online certification, into it, but you want to actually touch grass, right? That's where our immersive experiences come in. So over the course of 2026, we're hosting a variety of programs all the way from Everglades and Biscayne and the Virgin Islands on the East Coast up to Northern Cascades in Washington and a whole bunch in between on the West Coast. We are combining the 4Rs framework and giving you an opportunity to experience these landscapes through that framework, through the 4Rs, and give back in real time, get your hands in the dirt, do something to give back to these places that hold us, and to come together as a community in person. If you've ever been part of a program that's like virtual first and then has an in-person component, that first hug when you like get off the plane or you get ready to meet the people at the van or whatever the meetup spot um, is pretty exquisite. Like there's something, as much as I love all in person all the time, there is something really profound and beautiful about having an opportunity to connect every month and then have a big in-person experience together. So that's the ecosystem as it exists right now. What am I dreaming about? Beyond this, right? Like it's got to start somewhere. And right now, I feel like what's most needed is the language to help connect the dots. That's where this free toolkit comes in. And beyond the resources that we're creating and the opportunities that we're creating and providing here, I want to see this in med schools, right? Like I want to see med schools teaching all the different programs where people get letters after their name. I want reciprocity woven into that explicitly. It might already be happening, but it's not specifically talked about in this way. I didn't know med school moms were a thing, but I've gotten a couple notes from moms who have kids in med school that are like, how do we get this into my kid's school? Great question. I'd love to do that. I also see this in program design. I see this in how we educate our kids, how we educate ourselves as young adults, to really center everything around relationship to self, to community, and to the planet. Because when we do that, all things are cared for. Reciprocity, in essence, is trusting and knowing that when you take care of something, it will take care of you in return. And this is a pretty good way to do that. So let's dive right in. We're going to talk about our first lesson here. I'm going to go off camera, and if you have a notebook or if you just want to sit and think about it, what we're going to do is I'm going to guide you through the first part of receive, why we start here in our 4Rs, why we bring this to the forefront and why we have so much trouble receiving. And then we're going to go through a little guided journaling exercise. So if you want to grab a notebook or your notes app, or if you just want to sit and think about it as I guide you through the prompts, feel free. I'm going to go off camera just so we can have no distractions and we'll just look at this pretty picture. And everything, I don't want to I'm not Taylor Swift, right? Clearly not a billionaire. But there is an excruciating level of Easter egg detail that I like to incorporate into our graphics and into our worksheets and our program design, really centering reciprocity at the top. So on this next slide, pay attention to what we're looking at now in the context of receiving. This little blurred out image in the back. I'm going to turn off my camera, and then we're going to go to the next slide. And I want you to think about, when was the last time that you received something? And I use this image of a child handing you flowers because receiving flowers is one of the easiest things to use as a comparison, and to think about in context. What we're doing here is we're allowing ourselves to receive. And what does that mean? truly, what does that mean? Because in my mind, receiving sounds like gifts. It sounds like maybe even some like hippy dippy woo woo stuff, depending on your exposure. But I want us to shift from talking about reciprocity into actually feeling a piece of it together through this receive exercise. So we're going to spend a few minutes with the very first R, which is receive. And most of us, especially in this circle, are very well practiced at giving, right? If you're a care provider, giving is your career. If you lead a volunteer team, you're leading a bunch of givers and helpers, right? So we are so well practiced at giving by giving our time and our energy and our attention. We hold space for other people, for our communities, for our patients. We hold everything together. Receive asks us a different question. How do we let support in from people, from place, and from practice? This matters so much for burnout and caregiving and leadership because if our only gear is to give, we eventually run out of something essential, our capacity to care in a way that feels true and sustainable. A lot of folks in this ecosystem are the ones people turn to when things get hard, whether that's at work, at home, or in the community. We're the ones holding the container. And in my experience, when we don't have an active practice of receiving, the care we're offering gets more and more expensive for our bodies and our lives. The stuff that we're putting out takes more and more out of us as we do it when we don't actively receive in kind. So this little practice isn't about fixing everything in 10 minutes. It's about gently noticing, where am I being supported already? Where am I still trying to carry all of it alone? So if you haven't already, grab a journal or something to write with. And we're going to go through these guided questions, couple prompts. You don't have to answer them perfectly. Just let whatever is true enough for you in this moment to land on the page or to flow through your mind if you're just thinking about it. I'll read them slowly and we'll do the prompts on the screen so you have them and it's a little bit easier to stay on track with. So, prompt number 1. Where in your life do you feel most supported right now? And what does that support look like? What does that support look like in real, ordinary terms? This could be a person, a place, a routine, a practice, an animal, a landscape, whatever comes up, just follow it. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes with this, and I'll let you know when we're shifting to the next question. And if you're feeling social, feel free to drop it in the chat. This is an interactive experience minus the no video. So yeah, enjoy. All right, go ahead and wrap up whatever sentence or thought you're on right now. And we'll shift to the next question. So for this next one, I want you to think of a place outdoors that is cared for you: a park, a backyard, a trail, a tree, a coastline. What does receiving from that place look like? How does your body feel when you're there? And what shifts in you when you're with it? You might jot down a few words or a snapshot of a place and what it gives you. We'll give you about 2 minutes with this one. So, what does receiving from that place look like? How does your body feel there? And what shifts in you when you're with it? All right. You want to wrap up the thought that you're on? And if anything came through for you that you'd like to share in the comments, we'd love to hear it, and we can have a little bit of chat at the end of the presentation if you feel inclined to do so. So that was the beginning of Reciprocity RX, the beginning of the 4 Rs at the most foundational level. So going back to this ecosystem, the entry point is the Reciprocity RX Collective. And this QR code on the screen will take you to where you can join that. And this is, like I mentioned, this is our free community. This is where we host the toolkit. And this is also where, if you join the online certification program or if you join one of our events, this is also where we stay connected through, between, during, and after, well, not during, but before and after our events and throughout the program. So this is where we house all of our educational materials as well. So this is where you'll find the free toolkit, and you can check that out here. Our first tool that we're releasing between now and when the program starts is the 4 Rs. This week is receive, and then through the end of the December, we'll also be talking about reflect, return, and reconnect. And then in January, we start with different landscapes, different medicines. So these are ways that you can connect with the material. And the toolkit itself is like a gentle on ramp. It's a way to start practicing the 4 Rs in your real life at your own pace without needing to overhaul your schedule or your systems overnight. We start with the lesson that you just tasted, which is receive, and we have more meat on those bones. If you go to the toolkit right now after this call, you can dive deeper on receive. And we take a look at how these different R's, the 4 R's, come together to give us a rhythm that we can follow in our lives. So a little bit less of a constant sprint. So with the rhythms of receiving, like we just did, reflecting to help us make meaning, returning teaches us how to give back and right relationship. And through this, in the reconnect phase, we're reconnecting to ourselves, to each other, to the land that holds us again and again and again. And you can come into this cycle at any point. You might find yourself journaling someday and thinking about how you're spending time outdoors, and that could lead you to wanting to give back. You could start at a volunteer project and be like, oh my gosh, I feel so connected to myself and my purpose, to this community that's out here with me, to something bigger, the landscapes that we're serving. And then you jump back into receiving, right? So you can jump in at any point, and you can use this for yourself if you want, or you can bring pieces of it into your work with your patients, clients, teams, community, almost like dipping your toe in the water before you jump fully in. And for some people, that's enough, for now, a self guided way to remember that, you know what, we're not machines as much as this world wants us to be machines. We're going to resist. And for others, especially those of us that are holding space for other humans, there is a desire to go deeper. And that's where the next layer comes in. So the Reciprocity RX online certification program is the second layer of the ecosystem, and it's an 8-month journey for providers, leaders, and organizers. Looks like healthcare professionals and mental health providers, protectors, nonprofit leaders, public land staff, coach, facilitators, educators, and anyone else who finds themselves caring for people and systems in this messy, beautiful moment we find ourselves in. The certification is where we move from this is helping me personally, like we find with the toolkit, to how do I weave this into the way that I care for others and design my work. So we take the 4 R's that you've just been introduced to: receive, reflect, return, reconnect, and we explore them through three main lenses: your own life and well-being, because you're not just a disembodied brain doing all of this important work, right? Like you are a human and a soul on this planet. Your work with people. So how does this tie in to how you serve? And your relationship with place, looking at the specific landscapes and communities that you're rooted in. So over 8 months, we meet regularly for live sessions. We have 3 sessions a month: know, grow, and go. Know is where we cover the information and the different educational materials of the theme of that month. Grow is where we connect as a community to share what's working, share what we're struggling with, and show up for each other. That's also where you get to connect with our program advisors, our guest experts. Those connections happen during the Grow community calls and special sessions. And then we also have the Go meetings, which is safety and planning for adventure, comprehensive workbooks and a resource library. Like I mentioned, inside of the Foundations program is also all of our free resources. If you're not able to attend these meetings live, as you try to sort out like what the rhythm is for you, maybe you like coming to know live because you love being taught in real time. Maybe community calls are your jam, maybe safety's your jam, maybe you kind of come back to the lesson because you like to be self-guided. You really can make this your own. So if you're not able to attend live, or if attending live doesn't work for your schedule or just isn't your preferred method of learning, then we do have all the resources and recordings and the materials in the private program portal. We also offer the Reciprocity RX certificate of completion once you're done with this program, which opens up continuing pathways as a licensed facilitator. So if you're looking for ways to integrate this deeper into your life, you'll be able to do that after the certification program. If you want to facilitate with us in your own space, in different ways, in different modalities, in different landscapes, and you are really digging what we're doing, then looking at 2027 and beyond is where we can start training up our facilitators to specifically be with us. So retreats, good time. Oh my gosh, I just realized I didn't put my camera back on. Hi. You probably want to see my face. I don't know if you do or not, but I'll put it back on. So Reciprocity RX retreats, we have a bunch of different offerings for this as well. So coming up first in 2026, we're partnering with the Florida National Park Association to bring our programming to Everglades and Biscayne National Park in South Florida. This is an all-inclusive retreat, so your lodging is included, your meals are included. Once you get to the meeting point at the visitor center at Biscayne National Park, then all of your transportation is provided as well as we go into the different parks and to our different activities. But we're going to be kayaking around Florida Bay on a ranger-led kayak tour. We're going to be doing a cleanup along the shore. We're going to be doing a wet walk as we go through the mangroves. It's a really, really cool experience, and I'm really excited for us to share it with y'all. If you haven't been to the Virgin Islands, perhaps you want to escape wherever cold landscape you're currently spending your winter. We would love to have you join us for our volunteer trip in the Virgin Islands. And for anybody that hasn't been on our trips before, I just want to like kind of set this up. So for Everglades and Biscayne, for all the other events minus Virgin Islands, we do like 1 day of service to give you that immersive experience and the opportunity to give back to the place. Virgin Islands, we're working. It's a week-long trip. So you'll arrive on Sunday and you'll come with enough food to get you through Monday. And then the volunteer team takes us to the grocery store and we go shopping for the week to get all of our groceries. Your meals are included in this, and that the registration fee covers all of our meals, and then we're going to cook together as a team. We are on very rustic accommodations in St. John at Virgin Islands National Park. You're in a big, like one of those 12-person tents, but only 2 people sleep in it. So you're basically like in a king suite, right? um, like cots kind of situation. Cost intense. There is running water. It's not hot, it's cold, but the temperatures are around 70, 80 degrees. So we do morning work sessions on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We have Wednesday and Saturday off to explore the islands and to learn about all the different ecosystems that are here, all the plants and animals, the turtles, the culture, the music, everything you could want to know. Every evening we have different informational, educational programs lined up with the rangers at Virgin Islands National Park. And on our days off, we can go explore, we can go hang out on the beach. I'm coordinating a couple fun activities for everybody. And it's just going to be a really good time. So if you want to like escape the cold, visit the islands, and do some work and like just feel really good about your purpose and your contributions to different places, this is a great trip to join. So it's lightly programmed compared to our other events because we're going to be working for the majority of the day from about 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then we have the rest of the day to go explore, be on the beach, get a floaty, and just like starfish in the water, whatever feels good. That's what we're going to do after we get done working. And if we look at our other events, the next one on our schedule is the Reciprocity Rx Providers Immersive Certification Program in North Cascades National Park. So when you go to the website and you're looking at all of our different programs, you're going to see 2 prices. One is the price for the online program. Anybody and everybody is welcome in the online program, and everybody comes together. So it's not like we have a separate program online for providers, a separate program for pathfinders, a separate program for protectors. In the online program, we're all coming together to engage with this material and each other and to share stories and what's working and what's not. And then we have some retreats like Everglades and Biscayne that are open to anybody, Virgin Islands open to anybody. And then we start dialing in some opportunities for track specific, path specific communities to come together to really dive deep. And this first immersive experience certification program is with Dr. Melissa Sunderman, who is a double board certified physician. She is also the chair of the Global Wellness Institute. She's the head or the chair of the Nature as Medicine subcommittee for the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Since we started talking about Reciprocity RX and inviting people into this ecosystem, she's been to Switzerland and France and Saudi Arabia. She spoke in Colorado. She spoke in Dallas at the ACLM conference. Like, girlfriend is out there telling the world and lifestyle medicine providers all over the planet about Reciprocity RX and how we can bring this to life. So if you're looking for more in-depth experience, more in-person work with Dr. Sunderman, highly recommend our event in Cascades. And providers, like, I also want to be clear, providers is literally anybody who considers themselves somebody who provides care. You do not have to have letters after your name. You do not need to be a physician. You do not need to be a licensed therapist. You could be like, we've got a gal who's interested in coming, who works in biotech, but she constantly is educating and caring for and providing resources and ways to heal to her super stressed out colleagues. That's a care provider, right? Like in her own ecosystem, what she's experienced by coming to some of our other programs, she now wants to go out and formally bring this to her place. So, care provider in the context of healthcare, that's pretty self-explanatory, but we want to expand that definition because part of the mission here is not to make this so you have to go to a doctor or a licensed professional to receive your Reciprocity Rx prescription. In fact, the first Reciprocity Rx prescriptions were written by our retreat participants in Redwood National Park. We are trying to democratize access to the outdoors, access to health information, and new healing modalities. So if you are at all somebody that cares about other people and provides care in some way, whether or not you've got letters after your name, whether or not you've gone to higher education to earn certifications and stuff like that, you're welcome here. And what we'll be focusing on is the environment that is North Cascades National Park and specifically leaning into some of these lifestyle medicine practices that you can bring back to your community and to the people that you serve. North Cascades is also all inclusive. So as long as you get to Seattle by noon or 2 p.m., I think it's noon on the 24th, we're going to drive you out to North Cascades Institute, which is right here. This lake right here is Lake Diablo. North Cascades Institute is on this lake. That is a real place, and that is where we'll be spending our time. And so we've got some great hikes picked out. We'll integrate a stewardship project. Melissa and I will be leading different workshops throughout the week. So your meals are included. We're staying at the North Cascades Institute, which for those of you that don't want to camp or rough it, it's one of the nicer places that we're partnering with this year, and that you'll have a room that you share with one other person. You've got a desk, you've got a bunk bed, so you can pick the top or bottom bunk, whatever you're into, camp style. And we're going to feed you, we're going to get you there, everything you could need for this program. All you got to do is bring yourself, and the rest is included, and we got you from the second you land until the second we drop you off. So that is an opportunity to take what we're learning together in this program and to experience a place through the framework, which makes it really easy to teach it and to offer it to your community. So some other opportunities that we have, Redwood National Park, we're returning July 9th through 12th. This is open to anyone, whether or not you're in the program. So this is one of our entry level, you don't have to be in the program to come, but you're going to learn about everything when you get there. And Redwood National Park is where this program was really born and conceived. I mean, we've been tinkering on this. Barry and I have essentially been prescribing reciprocity since we started. We just didn't know that's what we were doing. But it was in the Redwood Forest and in Redwood National State Parks, and through our collaborations with Redwood Parks Conservancy, the state parks, the National Park Service, and the different tribes around the area, that we were able to really feel into and live in reciprocity in the way that had been happening in my brain, and this world that I wanted to live in where everybody works together and the land has the same rights as the people, right? Like all of the things, this utopia that I had been envisioning, it already exists. And it has been here. Like the reason that I know that it's possible is because it does exist. Now, does the region have its troubles? Of course it does. Nothing's perfect. Utopia isn't actually real, I don't think, but it's about as close as it can get. So if you're interested in figuring out what reciprocity is and really seeing it with your eyes and feeling it in the landscape, I highly recommend joining us in Redwood National Park. We do a stewardship project. We have a couple hikes. We're hiking among old growth. We're learning, living, breathing reciprocity, and not to discredit our other partners, but across the board, for the people that have been to all of our events where food is included, this is the best food that we've got. So we are thrilled to have Adon, our chef, our friend, our wellness. He's a wellness chef. He's a holistic nutritionist. We're really excited to have Adon coming back and nourishing our bodies and teaching us about ways that we can find balance in our nutrition throughout this event. So that is happening July 9th through 12th. We also have an event coming up in Sequoia National Park. This is a bring your own everything kind of weekend. So this is a VIP reunion. So if you volunteered with us in the past, or if you volunteer with us before this event, then you are like qualified to join this event. It's a free event. We do this with Sequoia National Park to support their volunteers and parks department. And you bring everything. You bring your camping gear, you bring your food. We've got water on site. but you bring everything, and then we guide some hikes around the park. We do some really beautiful stewardship projects. Historically, we've been supporting a meadow restoration for the past 4 years. That project's almost complete. When we did it this year, the meadow that we were removing invasives from, the invasive species used to cover 97% of the meadow, and now it's down to 5%. So we're really thrilled that that project has gone as well as it has. We might be collecting seeds, we might be doing other things. So really cool opportunity to see Sequoia National Park. We're sleeping right on the edge of the giant forest, so we're just moments away from the big trees. And it's, if you haven't seen sequoias or redwoods, this is our crown jewel. Big trees. We got them both. So come on down to Sequoia or Redwood. Our big event this year, it's a challenge. It's a physical challenge. It's a emotional challenge. For some of us, it is a spiritual transformation. But we're partnering with our friends at TSX Challenge, which is a company that has been guiding trips in the Sierra Nevada, in Grand Canyon for the past 14 years. And Chris Casato, if you click this little, or if you take a scan of that QR code here, Chris is the founder of TSX Challenge and the lead guide, and he is hosting an information session about the itinerary, how to prepare for this trek, and all of that on Sunday this week. And that will be recorded. So if you aren't able to make it live, you will get a link to the recording as well. But the way that we're packaging this is it's a 3-part program, right? So between February and September, during the course of the program, for our foundations program, you're meeting with everybody. We're going through the 4 hours. We're learning about how we can bring this into our lives, into our work. And then before the trek starts, we're going to do a service project at Sequoia National Park. A lot of our Indigenous partners, before they enter into the landscape, they make an offering. Some offer tobacco, some offer words and thoughts, just time and silence. But we're kind of following their lead. We're offering our stewardship before we go and enjoy the beautiful backcountry of Sequoia, Kings Canyon, and eventually to summit Tumanguya, which is the Paiute name for Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in the lower 48. The summit of that mountain is at 14,505 feet. So we do the online program. We're learning, we're knowing, right? And then we grow by giving back and coming together as a community. This is also an opportunity to acclimate to the altitude. The initial, like the trek itself is 75 miles. It starts on the 31st and ends on the 8th. We summit on day 6. And so this just gives you an opportunity to start acclimated, because we're not doing a lot of heavy physical labor during the volunteer project. We're doing a like a service project in the morning one day, and the rest of the time is for you to test out your gear. We'll go for a hike. You can load up your backpack, see what feels good. We'll give you time you'll just have time to acclimate to the altitude, because you'll be at about 7,200 feet for the stewardship project. And then we start trekking to Mount Whitney. And once we exit the stewardship project, then we go to the meeting spot for where the trek starts. And from there, everything's included. So all of your meals, TSX is providing and preparing the meals, and we all split the weight. So we're all carrying our own equipment. This isn't a fully supported trip, but it's a mostly supported trip, and that we're carrying our own stuff. But if you don't have gear, that's included in your fee. TSX is happy to provide the backpacking equipment that you need. It also includes the TSX training program. So they've got a series of videos and different resources to help you train for a high altitude adventure like Tumanguya. And it's really just an opportunity to restore your rhythm on the trail, and to experience this fully immersed. And one of the things that I'm really excited about, if you were here for our first webinar, we were talking about the healing power of nature and some of the different metrics that the studies that support what people have known since time immemorial, right? When you live with the land and you give to the land gives back. But one of the metrics that's really making its way through lifestyle medicine and some of these other conversations around nature as medicine and nature for health is this metric of 120 minutes per week. So studies have shown that after 120 minutes, at 120 minutes, that's where you start to that's the tipping point for the healing benefits of nature. And so we were looking at, Barry and I were doing some math around this, and this adventure between the stewardship project and the trek itself, the 75-mile trek, is 210 hours of nature exposure. And that's double the dose. If you prescribe 2 hours per week, we're doubling the dose for the year and one event. And so why this matters is because this gives us an opportunity to really fully immerse. Our other events are a mix of indoor and outdoor, depending on if we're camping or if we're staying at a lodge or a cabin or something like that. This is sleeping on the ground, roughing it in the wilderness, carrying only what you need on your back, and really getting down to the nitty gritty of what the 4 R's are, how to experience life through them, and how to fully immerse yourself in a place and to integrate what we've been learning in motion. So we have 8 whole days to get into the flow of what it means to wake up, nourish ourselves, pack up, and roll, and then have a wonderful time on the trail, get to our campsite, settle down, ground, nourish ourselves, have a nice little snooze, wake up and do it again. So it gives you an opportunity to really strip away all the beeps and boops of your life in the front country, in the constructed world, as we like to say. And it gives you everything. Like I said, this is an all-inclusive trip. It bridges the gap from insight to action. And after the event is done, we have a resource, a nice workbook to help you integrate the experiences that you've had on the trail and as a community in this program. Photos, videos, you name it. Like we provide that for you. So yes, if you are a photographer and you want to take your own pictures, by all means, please do. And if you just want to be there, tech free, disconnected, trust that we're going to capture those beautiful moments so you have those memories to look back to when you get home. So that's a lot. But wait, there's more. We've got one more open house before the program starts, and that's in January. So if you want to sign up, you can go to reciprocityrx.com/open house to register for the January program. And this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about this community challenge. And I talked about that 210 hours of time, right? And we talked about how the tipping point for receiving the benefits of nature is 2 hours per week. For me, myself, that sounds wild to think about needing to be prescribed to be outside 2 hours a week. There's this really great app, and if you haven't heard of it yet, check it out. This might come into play later. We'll see how it all goes. But there's an app called Nature Dose, and it's free to download. What it does is it takes your geographic location and it draws like a 1 kilometer circle around you. And then using GPS data, it analyzes the time that you spend in and under structures inside versus the time you spend outside. And it tracks how much of that nature dose, the 120 minutes a week that you're getting. It also has tons of fun facts about the healing power of nature every time you open the app. So for me, I downloaded this last week. I was like, I wonder what my baseline is, right? Like where do I stand in the context of how much time I actually spend outside? And last week I spent from Tuesday to Saturday, 3,065 minutes outdoors. And this week so far, I've spent 2,475 minutes outdoors. So this isn't going to work. Maybe it will. Oh, yay. So that's what the screen looks like. It uses your data to understand how much time you're spending inside versus outside. And there's also on their website, if you Google nature dose or nature score, nature score uses your address to assess the quality of the nature that you have access to at that specific location. So right now we're 9 miles down a dirt road. We're in the middle of a in holding 9 acres in Cleveland National Forest, surrounded by Cuyamaca Ranch State Park and the land managed by the Bureau of Land Management. So we are at 94.4, which they call a nature utopia. So abundant, health beneficial natural elements and nature exposure opportunities. I invite you to go to the website and plug in every address that you've ever lived in, right? So look at where you've lived, where you like to recreate, compare, contrast, understand the quality of the nature that you have access to. Because as we drove from where we live when we're not on the road, out here in Julian, California, east of San Diego, back into the city to go run errands, I was just constantly refreshing. And I was like, oh, now we're at 13% because there's no nature nearby. I am just highways and apartment buildings everywhere. So it's really interesting to see just where you're at and what the nature score is. What that means to you, I don't know, but it might help you make decisions about where to spend time. It might help you make, if you're moving to a place, if you're looking for more opportunities to be immersed in nature, that could be a really good tool to kind of assess where you might be looking at. And so the reason that I bring this up is we're looking for this community challenge. We're going to model this, and we'll talk more about this in January, but for a little sneak peek, we're going to model the Reciprocity Rx Community Challenge after and align to some of the same metrics that we're going to be hitting with the crew that goes and does this trek to Tumanguya. So we'll have 210 hours of nature exposure. You can use this app to track it, right? We're going to invite you to connect to report all of the time you spend outside, the different ways you connect with nature, the volunteer opportunities that you're supporting. If you want to track your miles, we've got a Strava club. Like there's just what we're looking to do is to identify what's working, like how are we getting people out through this initiative, to have some really good data to chew on, some really beautiful stories to tell when at the end of this year we're evaluating this program and seeing, you know, who wants to fund the next round of this? How do we make this accessible to more people? And so the community challenge, we'll talk more about that at our open house on January 14th. Also in January, we'll be talking about our programs in Yellowstone National Park and in Glacier National Park. Here's what I can tell you right now. Right now, we are actively working with members of the Blackfeet Nation to find a way to get what we want to do in Yellowstone to be fully funded. Our invite and our hope is that we will be able to offer the same experience that we exchanged with our friends from the Blackfeet tribe earlier this year when we were in Yellowstone. We invited 2 members of the Blackfeet Nation to join us for an event that we hosted in partnership with Yellowstone Forever. And then when we got up to Montana, they invited us on some of their storytelling hikes and their indigenous led adventures in and around Glacier National Park. My hope is that when we get all this dialed in, that we will be able to serve their community, to offer them an opportunity to reconnect with Yellowstone National Park, which is part of their ancestral territory, so they can have the same experience that our friends had earlier this summer. My friend Leilani, who's also on this program advisor panel for this program, she mentioned that up until her generation, her ancestors, her elders could only get to the gate of Yellowstone National Park at that entrance at the Roosevelt Arch, and they would just sit there and sob because it was so traumatic to think about what had happened to their people, what had happened to the other indigenous communities that were forcibly removed from this land. And they were like, we've got to bring our people out here. Like we've got to get the youth out here and doing these stewardship projects and reconnecting with the landscape in this way. We need to be able to go sit with the emu, the bison, and spend time with our closest relatives, human, non-human, animate, inanimate. They are psyched. And so what we're trying to do is work with Yellowstone Forever, other indigenous led groups to create this experience where we can start to reintroduce these communities back to these landscapes and give them opportunities to connect with the landscapes in really powerful ways. It's wild to think about ancestors not being able to enter because of the trauma. Like I can't personally relate to that, but oh my gosh, can I empathize with that, right? So finding places where we find belonging, and our protectors program specifically creating opportunities for indigenous folks to reconnect with the landscapes that they've been removed from. For our partnership with Glacier National Park and Glacier Institute, this is our Pathfinder program. And if you're a protector and if you're a provider and you're like on this journey also for yourself, P.S., it's okay to do all this in tandem. There's no like mastering this framework and then and only then are you a provider or protector. You can identify however you want to and however you fill into this work. We're all about it. So for the Pathfinders, this is a 5-night retreat exploring the 4 Rs through Glacier National Park. And we're just really excited to return. We've hosted programs there for the last 2 years, and it's glacier. Like you can't beat it. As far as the landscapes go, these 2 locations in particular, when we think of different landscapes, different medicines, both of these landscapes touch on just about all of it. They both have beautiful mountains. They both have stunning bodies of water, gorgeous forests, wide open spaces that we can explore and walk through. And Yellowstone, a little bit of high desert with some sagebrush and such. So these are two of the places that really are just from a biodiversity perspective, they're so rich and there's so much to be learned from the plants and animals and the landscapes themselves. So if you're interested, curious about getting out to Yellowstone National Park, more than just a drive-through tour, if you're curious about um, what it's like in Glacier National Park, both of these events are the Yellowstone event is hosted at the Lamar Buffalo Ranch, and the Glacier National Park event is hosted with the Glacier Institute on their campus. So all of that is our time for today. That's what we're talking about. So we took you through the ecosystem at a high level view between our free collective and Toolkit that lives there, our first lesson of the 4 Rs, receive, and then a little bit of a deeper dive into how all these pieces fit together and layer together. So if you haven't already, we'd love for you to join the collective. Come join us as we start to keep rolling out these free resources. And when you're ready, if you have questions, I'd love to hear them. I'm happy to take questions on this call, or if you have questions that you don't feel comfortable asking in front of everyone. All of our programs that include the online certification program, the online certification program is offered at sliding scale. We also have payment plans. We also have scholarships. So if you are at all interested in this, I want to give you the opportunity to use this as as like an option to receive, because if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So we've got to take an opportunity and every moment that we can to advocate for ourselves to get what we need and our needs met. Ask if you need support. God, Lord knows this is a wild time. I've been sitting here panicking personally because, like, this is a very different economy. This is a very different vibe than it was at the beginning of the year when we released our programs for 2025. And we're here to help. Like, this is not anything other than an offering. And for me to offer the 4 Rs and the different landscapes, different medicine is not undervaluing this work. It's showing up in reciprocity. I feel good about giving the 4 Rs and different landscapes, different medicine as a resource for anybody that wants to enter into this work. And that's how we show up. Reciprocity is not just a buzzword, it is at the center of everything we do. So thank you for giving us your email address and showing up for this webinar here. And if you have any questions, I'd be delighted to answer. I'm going to pop in the chat and see what we got going on there. But if you'd like to don't throw up, but if you'd like to come on camera, say hi, and connect, I'd love to see your face and answer any questions you might have.